Today, we are diving into something that's really at the heart of our online lives, our digital identity. And more importantly, how some new tech is helping us finally take it back. Okay, so let's just start with a really simple but kind of profound question. Think about it. All your online accounts, all your data, everything that makes you, well, you online. Who actually owns all that stuff? If you have to pause and think about it, you are definitely not alone. Because the truth is, right now on the internet we all use every single day, it's really just a handful of huge companies that hold all the keys to our digital kingdoms. But this is the story of how that's all changing. It's the story of how we're finally getting those keys back. To really get the solution, we first have to be crystal clear on the problem itself. So let's talk about our current digital identity crisis. See, we live in what's called the Web 2 world. And here, your identity isn't this one thing you own. No way. It's fragmented, it's scattered all over the place. A piece with Google, a piece with Apple, your bank, your social media, you name it. And that makes all that data super vulnerable and leaves you with basically zero real control. So what's the alternative? Well, that brings us to the next evolution of the internet. It's a vision built around something called self-sovereign identity. And listen, this isn't just some small update, it's a totally different way of thinking. It imagines an internet that's built from the ground up on digital sovereignty and self-determination. The absolute core idea, the user, that's you, is finally back in the driver's seat, controlling your own identity and your own data. And the engine that's making this whole new vision possible is a specific piece of tech called the UIID. So let's zoom in and take a closer look at how this thing actually works. So, UIID stands for Universal Integrated Identity Decoupler. Yeah, I know, it's a bit of a mouthful, but the concept behind it is just brilliant. It creates this personal, heavily encrypted data vault that only you have the keys to, and it organizes your identity into this really powerful two-tiered system. And this is where it gets really clever. Check it out. First, you've got your core ID. The best way to think of this is like your digital passport. It's incredibly secure, totally private, and you only use it for high-stakes stuff, like banking or government services. But then you get infinite aliases. These are like your digital nicknames. They're disposable, completely disconnected from your core ID, and they're perfect for all the everyday apps, forums, and social media sites. Now, this system was already a beast. It was using amazing technology like zero-knowledge proofs. That's just a fancy way of saying you could prove something is true, like, yep, I'm over 21, without ever actually revealing your birth date. Super powerful stuff. But for all that power, there was still some pretty big hurdles stopping it from really taking off. And that, right there, brings us to the breakthrough. The moment when everything changed, the release of UID version 1.2. So, on November 9th, 2025, this update hits the scene. And it wasn't just some minor patch. Nope. This was the key that unlocked the whole thing because it systematically knocked down the final barriers standing in the way of mass adoption. So, how'd they pull it off? That's the crucial question. And it all boils down to three huge moves: a completely fresh user experience, getting rid of mandatory identity checks, and a new partnership from massive global scale. Let's tackle that first one, the user experience. Because let's be real, the most revolutionary tech on the planet is useless if nobody can figure out how to use it. So the goal here wasn't just to make it look prettier. It was about making people feel like they were truly in control. And here's how they did it. The new interface isn't just cleaner, it's made for your phone. It gives you this simple dashboard that feels kind of like the central command for your whole digital life. All of a sudden, managing that data vault is as easy as managing your photos. And sharing a credential, like, say, proving you graduated from college, becomes as simple as sending a text. This isn't just an update. It's about knocking down a massive wall and finally making digital sovereignty something you can actually touch and use. Okay, moving on to the next point, because this might just be the most important change of all. It solved this deep, really frustrating paradox. You see, in the old system, to get your cool new decentralized identity, you first had to go and prove who you were to a traditional, centralized company. Kind of defeats the purpose, right? Now, this quote really nails it. You've probably heard of KYC, right? Know your customer. It's that security step where you have to upload your passport or driver's license to use a service. It's meant to stop fraud, but it created that paradox we were just talking about. So getting rid of that requirement, like the quote says, is the most pure, consistent way to achieve self-sovereign identity, real self-determination, right from the start. And the implications here are just massive. First, it means you can have true anonymity if you want it. Second, it means global accessibility with no more roadblocks because of what country you live in. And, most importantly, it makes the whole system philosophically consistent. It's truly decentralized from the ground up. And finally, you can have a world-changing idea, but it needs world-class infrastructure to run on. A big problem for decentralized networks is that they can be slow and vulnerable. Well, this is where a partnership with Cloudflare comes in, and it's a game changer. It solves two massive problems at once. It gives the network the raw speed it needs to handle billions of requests in real time, and it provides incredible security, shielding the whole system from attacks. So with all these technical breakthroughs, what does this actually mean for you, for me, and for the future of the internet as a whole? Well, here's the bottom line. With UIID version 1.2, this idea of digital sovereignty isn't some fuzzy, futuristic promise anymore. It's here. It's a real thing that is fast, secure, and this is the most critical part. It's actually easy enough for anyone to use.
And that really just leaves us with one final big question to chew on. For the very first time, the tools to build a truly user-first internet are right here, in our hands. The tech is ready, so the question is, are we ready to use it? Are we ready to build a new internet?